What up? Back in the NBA, we have around 2 to 3 more weeks until the season's starting. We already got the Christmas Day schedule for the 25th, and then let alone the opening day games. Looking into right now, we have LeBron James and the new retooled, rejuvenated Los Angeles Lakers. There's been kind of talks and rumors of if there's pressure on LeBron and the Lakers since they are quote-unquote favorites to come out of the Western Conference, let alone to win the championship once again. Looking to the acquisitions for the Lakers, you did bring in Montrezl Harrell from the LA Clippers from next door. You brought in Dennis Schroeder as well. So both Montrez and Dennis, they were pretty much the 6th and 7th man of the year. You did bring in a veteran, Marc Gasol, Pau Gasol's brother. And we got to see, there's 2 more roster spots. The Lakers can possibly bring in Pau Gasol kind of for a last year, kind of let him go. Nice type of feel to put him with his brother Mark. You were able to bring in also Wesley Matthews as a spot-up shooter to kind of resemble the Danny Green role. And besides from that, you were able to kind of bring in a couple other little more pieces, such as part of a trade, you were able to get offensive Kinsey, Jordan Bell. You were able to re-sign verbally with Anthony Davis. You were able to re-sign Jared Dudley, Markieff Morris, and LeBron James just verbally committed, and it's been reported that he's going to extend 2 more seasons. And that'll be another topic for another discussion about him possibly playing with his son Bronny. The Lakers right now, they're way better than they were from 2020. Right now, they're instant favorites to come out of the Western Conference, let alone to win the championship. Now, when we're talking about pressure, I'll get into that in a second, but for LeBron James, he has 4 championships, 3 different franchises. He is top 4 in the history of the NBA. A lot of cats right now in this new age of putting LeBron James at number 2, let alone the GOAT. I disagree. I've always stated if he wins his 5th NBA championship, then I'll leapfrog him over Kareem and Bill Russell, and he'll be the automatic top 2 with MJ and LeBron James. But that's jumping the gun. Let's jump here on First Take and see what they got to say about the new rejuvenated Lakers, and of course, I'll get my take in here.
Dennis Schroeder said he intends to start at point guard for the defending champs. The Lakers have not settled upon their starting lineup. Sources told ESPN, though Schroeder would consider him starting at the point guard spot. He also could be asked to fill in off the bench. Sources have said that as well.
And that was a quote from Dennis Schroeder. So basically, he stated for the last 2 seasons, he's been coming off the bench and he wants to take on that starting role. Hey, Dennis Schroeder, he's a nice cat. He kind of is in the same class as a Reggie Jackson. As well as, I'm forgetting the Terry Rozier. I kind of see those 3 kind of in the same mix to where they've been off the bench and they want that starting role. But with Dennis Schroeder, he doesn't have the cachet, let alone the reputation to take on a starting point guard role in a championship contending team. Now, what I see and foresee the starting lineup for the Lakers is pretty simple. LeBron always wants to play the point guard position ever since he's getting up in age. He wants the ball usage. He had the highest amount of assists last season. So he wants the ball in his hands, which is no different from any other year, but just kind of the title of him being a point guard. So LeBron will stay at the point guard position. At the 2, Wesley Matthews will take on the quote-unquote Danny Green traditional shooting guard contending championship role. At the 3, I expect KCP to stay there. At the 4, Anthony Davis. And then at the 5, Marc Gasol. And then at the bench, you'll have your 6th and 7th man at Montrezl Harrell, Dennis Schroeder. And of course, we all know Alex Caruso, Kyle Kuzma, Markieff Morris, etc., etc. The Lakers are 10 deep at least. They're automatic favorites as of right now. Their chemistry has been on point 100% from the 2020 season. And now you bring in, rejuvenated guys that want to win a championship and that are young. So this is going to be very good within the season. LeBron James can have a lot more rest. And these guys right here, they can step in on a starting role if necessary.
Max, I'll start with you here. How much pressure is on the Lakers to repeat?
Well, for the Los Angeles Lakers, there's not much pressure because basically in 2020, everyone was writing them off. They had the Bucks or Clippers over them, and they pretty much gentlemen sweep their way through the playoffs, almost within the finals. It wasn't a big deal with any of these series for them to win 2020. 2021, they got a lot better, and we can see with these other teams like the Bucks, they're kind of here and there. Giannis's mentality is out the window. We don't know if he can make it through in the playoffs. The LA Clippers, they got somewhat better bringing in Serge, but you were able to lose Montrezl Harrell, let alone there's really no hope. There's really no belief in the Clippers. And they brought in Tyronn Lue, who kind of a here or there kind of take. But the Lakers are pretty much seem like the LA Lakers lost in the second round, and then they pretty much went ham in the offseason. But that wasn't the case. They won the championship, and then they went harder as ever. So kudos to their GM, Mr. Rob Pelinka. Comes to the pressure on the Lakers, that's not going to happen. They're not worried about the media. And you guys can tell in the 2020 season, there was zero, and I mean zero stories of chaos, toxicity, or anything like that with the Lakers. I mean, there was no talks about Frank Vogel whatsoever. Usually LeBron James is putting his coaches on the hot seat about potentially firing them. Zero words were said about Frank Vogel, which is a plus on nothing was bad. But the thing is, he should have got more credit. And zero really anything about trade rumors. The only one was Kyle Kuzma, but that really wasn't a big deal. So the Lakers are going to bring that same energy, that same focus and demeanor into the 2021 season. LeBron James and Anthony Davis have won that championship, and they have the experience. They have the confidence, and there's going to be no pressure on them whatsoever.
I think there's more pressure on the Lakers this season. Yeah, I didn't hear either. I'm sorry. I'm assuming you said me, but I don't know.
Max.
Go ahead, Max.
And real quick, the highest pressure for the Lakers was in 2020 because you had a bunch of older vets on a one-year deal, which was a championship or bust season. For example, Rondo, Dwight Howard. You can kind of throw JaVale McGee somewhat in there. I mean, he wants some chips. Trying to think of others as well. And then Anthony Davis was on a one-year deal, and LeBron knew that. That's why LeBron was on check the whole season by AD. That's why LeBron had to play defense. LeBron had to pretty much not bring that toxicity anymore. So there was a huge amount of pressure on the Lakers and LeBron James 2020. Ever since they overcame that and they won the championship, they got that monkey off their back. They're chilling right now. They're rejuvenated. They're retooled. And I expect them to win the championship this season. So I don't expect any pressure whatsoever. Plus, you got Klay Thompson on the Warriors. They're out of the picture. So who are the only guys and who are the only teams that could really, quote-unquote, contend? In the West, I think it's going to be the Clippers still, and then possibly the Dallas Mavericks. I'm not going to put the Mavericks on that high of a level, but they're still a threat. But the LA Lakers mentally have the Clippers on check. And then the Eastern Conference, who could it be? Possibly the Brooklyn Nets with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. I don't think the Nets are there yet to overthrow the Lakers if that's the case. We could see the Nets come out of the East, but the Lakers will still take them down on that. And who else in the Eastern Conference? The Celtics didn't make any moves. The Philadelphia 76ers are not in the high tier. They're more of a second-round type team. The Miami Heats, they're kind of preparing 2021 free agency for Giannis. So I expect the Los Angeles Lakers to win the championship. Really no threats, no pressure. Everything's going to be not smooth sailing, but they're going to resemble a lot like the 2013 Miami Heat in my eyes.
Go ahead, Max.
Because Stephen A. didn't. Okay. All right. I think there's more pressure on the Lakers to start this season, to win this season, than there was last season. Like, do you remember before last season that survey of GMs, right? I think it was right before the season started. It was late October or November. Who is most likely to win? GMs, right? So they survey 30 GMs, all the GMs in the league, and they ask who is most likely to win the championship. These people, their living is dependent on knowing this kind of stuff, of evaluating talent. Number one was the Clippers. Number two was the Bucks. Lakers finished a distant third. They turned out to be wrong. But the perception was going in, the Lakers may not win it this season. And why not? Like, this is the third time LeBron has formed a super team in a location. The first time is he went to Miami. Dwayne.
Okay, I'm going to have to stop you right there, Mr. Kellerman. LeBron James has only formed one super team, and that was with the Miami Heat in 2011. Now, when it came to 2012 through 2014, the Miami Heat were not a quote-unquote super team. I don't care what you guys say. You got to listen to me. In 2011, Dwayne Wade was a top 5 player. LeBron was a top 5 player. Chris Bosh was probably around top 10, top 15. 2011, they were a super team. That's why it was an ultimate meltdown and a choke job when they lost to the Dallas Mavericks in 2011. Now, in 2012, all of a sudden, Dwayne Wade, he went from like a A+ or A player to around a B+. He really dropped it in age, and on with his knees, his injuries, and his tier dropped down. And everyone knew that. He wasn't a superstar in 2012. He was still a star player. But the Miami Heat still in that phase were the top team in the NBA. When LeBron elected to go to the Cleveland Cavaliers with Kyrie and then orchestrated the trade for Kevin Love, they were still not a super team. They had a really good core three. They did have a quote-unquote big three. Doesn't mean they're a super team. They had a big three, but they really did not have a bench. You had Erison Varejao. You had Dion Waiters. And then, a couple, Sean Marin, a couple, small players like that. Now, they did make some trades to bring in Shumpert and J.R. Smith, but they brought those two pretty much for pennies. They were so undervalued in the market and the league. So whenever LeBron formed those teams in Cleveland, they were not a super team. They were a big three, and they were a top two, top three team in the NBA. But you got LeBron, you got a couple other guys. Kyrie was young. Kevin Love was around a top 10 player in the league by then in 2015. But Kevin Love lost around 20 pounds. He became a glorified Ryan Anderson 2.0. He was pushed to the perimeter, and he messed up his game. He was better when he was bulkier. But the Cleveland Cavaliers were not a super team. Now, they had the more talented, quote-unquote, stars against the Warriors. But they did take the Warriors down in 2016. And then when LeBron went to the Lakers, that was not a super team. LeBron went by himself with a bunch of young cats. He brought in Anthony Davis. And even when he brought in Anthony Davis, people still did not have the Lakers winning the championship. They were glorifying the dynamic duo Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. They were glorifying the Bucks and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And some people were even putting the Nuggets, the Jazz over the Lakers, the Rockets, etc., etc. So I don't want to hear any of that nonsense. And even right now, the LA Lakers in 2021 are not a super team. They are not.
Wade and Chris Bosh, and then Miller and all these guys. Yeah, we want to play there too. They lost the championship year one. They got there, but they lost. Same thing happened in Cleveland. Oh, they got Kyrie and the #1 pick. They can flip Wiggins into Kevin Love. I'll go to Cleveland.
Real quick, and I'll let him finish. The only super teams, like super teams we've ever seen in the league so far, and pretty much in the modern day era, and pretty much in the past 2 decades, was the 2011 Miami Heat, the 2017 and 2018 Golden State Warriors. And then I was going to throw the 2019 Warriors, but Kevin Durant got injured, and there's just injuries around there. But mostly the 2011 Heat, the 2017 and 2018 Golden State Warriors. You can throw in 2019. Ever since, there really hasn't been a true super team. I'm talking about head over heels over anyone in the league, and they won the championship easy. Now the Heat were supposed to do that, but they just choked in the finals against the Mavericks.
There's another super team. Year one, he lost. True, everyone got hurt, but he didn't win the championship year one. LeBron usually figures that out year two because you got to get the details just right. It's hard just to throw guys together and have them win a championship. So I would say the expectation among most who knew was not that the Lakers would win, yet they did. But how about this season, guys? What's the expectation now? A lot of people would say the #1 and #2 players in the world are both on the Lakers. They just won the championship.
Stop it. Stop it. Anthony Davis is not the second greatest player in the world, nor will he ever be. Anthony Davis right now is top 7 or top 8 in the league. I'm going to get a lot of cats going to backfire on me on that. Let's walk through the list. #1, I got LeBron James. And then within the other guys, in particular, no order, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry. Who's that #5 for me? Wait, so you got LeBron James, you got Kawhi, Steph Curry, KD. You can throw Giannis Antetokounmpo, James Harden, Luka, and Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is in that mix. But you got to remember, AD is he's the second best player on your team. He's not the quote-unquote alpha. That's LeBron James. Now, AD was the sprinkle on top. He was the offense for your team. If you put AD as the #1 guy without LeBron, and AD had, like, for example, like a trying to think of another second option for him, like a Jimmy Butler or anything like that. In the West, they probably would have lost in the second round or the conference finals. But with LeBron James, he will take you to the finals. Anthony Davis, I got him right now around #6 through #8. Again, you got to remember, guys, the league is stacked. You got LeBron, you got Kawhi out there, you got Steph, you got KD, you got Luka, you got Harden. I mean, you got Giannis. It's stacked. So when I say he's top 7, top 8, don't quickly have a hot take and get offended to that.
Championship, and I think everyone agrees they improved, at least on paper, in the offseason. Montrezl Harrell and Schroeder and Marc Gasol. So, yeah, there's more pressure now, especially, Stephen A., as you know. You spent enough time in L.A. and have covered the league long enough and have been alive long enough to know. Lakers fans, ooh, they get greedy. You know, the reason they want to win a championship is because you can't repeat or three-peat without winning the first one. Now they expect it. So do the odds makers, and I think there's more pressure than ever right now.
Well, listen, the LA Lakers, they're going to repeat. I'm not going to jump the gun on three-peating, even though I still expect that to be the case. I know a lot of you guys are going to be shook by what I say. I can care less. But listen, right now, I've had the Lakers winning 2020 for a long time. 2021, I still have the LA Lakers. And you got to remember, there's a lot of things in the background. This is an entertainment league for a reason. A lot of you cats are still in that two-dimensional mindset that you don't really know about that. Don't worry, I'm not going to jump too much into that. But you also got to remember, Space Jam 2 is coming out in the summer of 2021. That's after when LeBron wins his 5th ring. I do not, it makes zero sense if he loses the finals or if he loses in the playoffs and then they release Space Jam 2. That's a little jump in the gun. I can care less. But basically right now what I'm saying is the Lakers will repeat. There's no one in their way. And whenever Klay Thompson with the Warriors, when he went down, that solidified me even more. Even though it was solidified for me before, but this solidified it again. Klay Thompson is out. The Warriors are out of the picture. The Clippers are not going to overthrow the Lakers in the Battle of LA, nor will any other team in the West. Those are a bunch of younger teams that are on the come up. They're not on the same tier as a team to defeat LeBron James. Now in the Eastern Conference, the Celtics, no, they're not going to beat the Lakers. The 76ers, no way. LeBron will not lose in the finals anymore in his career. I don't care what you guys say. He's not going to lose anymore. These are the redemption and glorify years for LeBron James. That's why I expect a three-peat to go now. But we'll take it step by step on that. Now, I expect to come out of the East. Before, I was saying the Celtics or Nets. Now, the Celtics right now did not make any moves basically in free agency. I'm still not going to bat my eye on that prediction. But it could be the Brooklyn Nets this season. And if it is LA against Brooklyn, the Lakers are going to win it. There's no way that they're going to make KD beat LeBron James 3 times in the finals. And when KD's not on a super team. Lakers got it down with. There's not much more I have to add on to that.
Well, for me personally, when I think about three-peat, that's the only time that I'm interested in applying any kind of pressure to LeBron James at this stage and point in his career. He's never done that in his career. He won back-to-back.
And why do you think in the media and the NBA, they're glorifying him to make him to be the next GOAT? You had Michael Jordan. Now they need someone else to do that. LeBron James has the credentials from day one. LeBron still has a couple more years to go. He needs more rings. He's got everything else with the stats. He'll reach #1 all-time of points. He'll pass over Kareem. He'll play around 20 years in the league, maybe at least probably 19. He'll probably play with his son. But with LeBron, you got to get at least 6 rings. And the NBA's got this for him. He's playing with a prime Anthony Davis. LeBron James is in his glorified years. That's why I expect him to three-peat with the Lakers. And we just saw the news around yesterday. LeBron James just signed an extension with the Lakers. So pretty much expect him to win a three-peat, maybe play 1 season with his son in the NBA, then probably retire from there. Who knows?
In Miami, he won 1 in Cleveland. He won 1 with the Los Angeles Lakers. But he's never three-peated like Jordan. He's never three-peated like Kobe. And so because of that, I would like to see that. I don't think that will happen, but then...
Hasn't three-peated like Shaq and Kobe, not just Kobe.
Again, you never know with the arsenal that they've put forth. The bottom line is I don't think there's as much pressure on the Los Angeles Lakers to quote-unquote repeat outside of that. I think there's pressure on LeBron James to win another chip before he departs from L.A. since he'll have Anthony Davis. And by the way, speaking of Anthony Davis, congratulations to Clutch Sports and Anthony Davis. I don't know why the hell they're in the news for him not signing. It's a 2-year deal, it's a 3-year deal, or it's a 4-year deal. Either way you slice it, you're getting the max. What the hell is all the drama about? Sign the deal.
And this was recorded before today when LeBron James signed that max extension for 2 more years. So since LeBron just signed 2 more years, I fully expect Anthony Davis to sign a 5-year max year contract with the LA Lakers. Besides from that, with Anthony Davis going to re-sign with the Lakers, LeBron there for another longer tenure, I expect them to three-peat. LeBron will finish off with 6 rings.
Contract.
Yeah, just tell him what you want.
Are you really leaving Southern? Are you really leaving Southern California to go to the Windy City of Chicago or to the New York Knicks under Dolan, Max Kellerman? I mean, is there really some suspense as to where Anthony Davis is going to go? But they're in the news. I mean, so hey, more power to Rich Paul and Clutch Sports. Major props to them. He's been doing a good job. Here's the bottom line. at the end of the day, when you look at all the moves that the Lakers made, certainly they're the favorites, they're the prohibitive favorites. But, Max, I was of the mindset, if you remember, I said the Lakers had to win last year. I'm not trying to say there's no pressure, because, of course, there's pressure. I'm saying there was more last year than now. The reason
Bingo.
why is because I firmly believed if they had lost last year and somebody else, say the Clippers, had knocked them off, all right, or God forbid Denver, okay, then what would have happened was it would have been that much harder for them to ultimately overcome, get over the hump.
And not only that, like I said before, guys, Anthony Davis was on a one-year deal. You had Rondo on a one-year deal, Dwight Howard, a bunch of these. It was a championship or bust season, basically. And that team could not. If the Lakers would have lost in 2020 to, like, the Clippers, for example, or the Bucks, that would have ruined and tainted LeBron James's legacy. I don't care what you say. Because Kawhi Leonard would have won another championship, or Giannis would have went over LeBron. That would have completely taken LeBron out of the GOAT debate. And we kind of say that year after year after he loses the finals. But, I mean, at the point to where if Kawhi would have taken you out in the Battle of L.A., I mean, that would have just been a tarnish. Or let alone a young Giannis Antetokounmpo. And that would have been terrible. And plus, the Warriors were out of the equation. So it's like, you're not going to win a championship when the Golden State Warriors, who've been running a dynasty, are out. That's why I saw the Lakers would win it in the background. But basically in 2021, again, I'm going to resemble this team to like the 2013 Miami Heat. LeBron James, not saying he's going to win the MVP. He could have an MVP season. Anthony Davis, same thing as well. They will be the top team in the NBA.
There would have been even more pressure to bear on LeBron and Anthony Davis. They would not have won together. Everybody would have been like, what's up, what you gonna do? Meanwhile, those other teams knew how to win. But the fact that that has not happened and the Lakers ended up handling their business in relatively dominant fashion, I might add, the bottom line is because they handled their business the way that they did and they won the chip, and they already know how to win together, and they've gotten that off. Now they could just go and play basketball, may the best team win. They should be it. Again, there's pressure because they're the prohibitive favorite, but it's nothing compared to what it was last year, because if they had not won last year, it would have been significantly more pressure this season and beyond.
Oh, yeah. If they would have lost 2020, Anthony Davis could potentially have left. There was that narrative that no one wants to play with LeBron James. So luckily, LeBron James finally found Anthony Davis. When AD was young, he looked up to LeBron. So LeBron used those tactics, bring him in when he was with Rich Paul, to lure him in. That's why LeBron had to put himself on check. Usually LeBron will bring toxicity, but whenever he's on a franchise with a strong structure, like the Miami Heat, for example, when LeBron wanted Eric Spoelstra fired, he wanted to do his thing, Pat Riley put him on check. Whenever he came back to Cleveland, Cleveland has so much dysfunction, they let LeBron do whatever the heck he wanted to do. That's why there's a bunch of toxicity, players being traded, the head coach, David Blatt, getting fired. Besides from that, there's so many. You guys know what happened on the news. It was crazy every day. He went to the LA Lakers. There was a lot of toxicity the first season because they didn't have a championship team surrounding LeBron James. And plus they had a rookie head coach and Luke Walton. And that's on LeBron James because LeBron joined the 2019 Lakers to where they had Lonzo Ball out there, Brandon Ingram. Before you did have Julius Randle, a bunch of these younger guys, and Josh Hart, and then Luke Walton as your coach. So there was going to be toxicity the first season because LeBron had to jump in there, pretty much had to reorganize everything. And then 22, that's when I expected success, which is the case. But basically LeBron James, if they would have lost 2020, been a tarnish, a taint on his legacy. Anthony Davis maybe would have not came back to LA. And LeBron James probably would have not won another championship in his career, which is crazy to say now. He could win 6, but if he didn't win 2020, that would have been his last. Again, if he would have lost in 2020, I don't expect any other star player to play with him. Besides from that, it's a momentum thing. Life has momentum. That's why the Lakers right now, they got the momentum of winning the championship. That's why Montrezl Harrell decided to join the Lakers and leave the Clippers. It's a domino effect. And the domino effect is still going to go upwards now for the Lakers and LeBron.
But the reason is, I think there's a problem with that kind of thought experiment. The reason that there's more pressure now is because They didn't lose to the Clippers. They never met the Clippers. They didn't lose to the Nuggets. They didn't lose to anyone. And Stephen A., the truth is, they never really came close, brother.
The Lakers are not worried about the LA Clippers. They're not worried about them. Listen, they got Montrezl Harrell leave the Clippers to join the Lakers. That's a mental that's mental psychological right there when it comes to the game of basketball. The Lakers have great chemistry, great foundation. The Clippers were pretty much the fakers out there. They had no chemistry. They didn't have a true direction. They just fired their head coach, brought in Ty Lue, which LeBron's not taking seriously on them. They only brought in Serge Ibaka, which is a nice fit, but you lose Montrezl Harrell, and then to try to trade Lou Will, and then, you got Paul George in the playoffs. LeBron and the Lakers with AD, they're the best team in the league. They got the length, they got the size, they got the championship, and they got the mental advantage over the Clippers. And LeBron's not worried about the Bucks, even if he were to play him in the finals. We already know what Giannis can and can't do in the playoffs. Drew Holiday, okay, it's a nice pickup, but the rest of the team, I mean, they're not going to come through in that big time. When it comes to the finals in that big time stage, LeBron's got it on deck. He has 10 finals appearances. AD finally has 1, and AD right now is going to be confident as ever.
They never really came close. That was kind of an easy championship win. Not that winning any championship is easy, but we've seen teams get to a nail-biter Game 7.
Thank you, Stephen A. I've had so many people on TV and social media stating the Portland Trail Blazers would take down the Lakers in the first round. The Blazers won Game 1. They kept on throwing that so much on their faces, and then the Lakers came, gentleman sweep. Same thing round 2 with the Rockets. ESPN and everyone was stating the Rockets are the favorites to overcome the Lakers. They have too much offense. They have a superstar in James Harden. No one will be able to guard and stop James Harden. And then look, Rockets won Game 1. They kept on stating that. Then the Lakers came back, gentleman sweep. Then the Denver Nuggets was kind of like a tier down. Some people kind of say the Nuggets could win that. And then with the Miami Heat, before Game 1, a lot of people were stating it was 50-50. 50% were saying the Lakers, 50% were saying the Miami Heat. So I don't want to hear anything about this Mickey Mouse ring, this bubble ring, this easy cakewalk. That's a bunch of BS. I'll pull out the receipts if I have to.
Along the way, right? Right, they made it look easy. Could someone even take them to a Game 7? No. That was like Jordan on the Bulls type stuff, right? Like, oh, y'all can't even take this dude to a Game 7? Those might be the 2 best players in the world. So the fact that we now know that they were that much better than the rest of basketball last season, and we all believe they got better, but we don't look at any other team and say, see that team right there? That team was knocking on the door, and they just took a giant step forward. We don't think that about the Clippers. You may think they got marginally better or marginally worse. The Bucks got a little better, but they didn't even get out of the East. Did the Heat get better? Maybe if certain guys improve because they're getting a little older, but no one. We don't see anyone on the, it's not like the Nuggets acquired some major star or something like that. We're like, okay, now what are they going to do? So for that reason, there's more pressure now because we know what the Lakers are supposed to do. The expectations are higher.
Well, again, I disagree. I mean, because the expectations are higher because we're looking at them and some of the moves that they made, and they're the prohibitive favorites. But I look at Denver, one could argue that there's addition by subtraction. Even though we all like Jeremy Grant and he can ball, the fact that he's going to be gone, Bart's going to come back, but you've got Michael Porter Jr. that's expected to ascend. Who knows how interesting that can be. Thanks.
Yeah, we'll end it off here and kind of jumping in a little further. The Nuggets, I didn't like their offseason. They lost Jeremy Grant, Mason Plumlee, Torrey Craig, then Torrey Daniels. I mean, those are some nice pieces. They really didn't have any good pickups. I mean, you got R.J. Hampton in the draft, but I don't expect the Nuggets to reach the conference finals. The Jazz took an L. Who else in the West? I mean, the Clippers took L's. And again, I don't have to make this video and this take too long. It's very straightforward, guys. The Lakers are easy favorites to win the championship, especially in the Western Conference. And in the East, I mean, I don't see any true threat to go against LeBron and AD. I would like to see the Brooklyn Nets in the finals. I think that's probably going to be the best case. I was kind of going back and forth with the Celtics and Nets, but let me see how the final rosters look like after training camp and how we start off in the season. But besides from that, kick it off.